Hello everyone, welcome to PowerPod where SAS meets substance. My name is Kuldeep and my pronouns are he and him. Today's episode is insightful and path breaking where we discuss the concept of gender and if it's actually fading. I'd like to welcome our guests today, Rahul, Annapurna, Zan and Mridul. Let's have them introduce themselves one by one.
Hey everyone, my name is Rahul and my pronouns are he slash him. I am from India, specifically city of Nawabs, and I'm a working professional who loves discussions, who really wants to make a change that knows no bound, is truly thrilled for some unapologetic sass and intellect. And I hope this conversation brings the change that is truly needed in the society. And yeah, looking forward to some intellectual yet sassy conversation with the others.
Hey there, it's a thrill to be here today. I am Annapurna, a pronoun apathetic queer. That is, I go by he, she, or they pronouns. I am a law undergrad and your friendly neighborhood queer. When I'm not charming y'all with my presence, you can find me in a quiet library or my bed. And yes, I take my coffee with a side of sarcasm. So buckle up because we're about to dive into a conversation that's entertaining as well as enlightening.
Hi, I'm so glad to be able to join here with you guys and hear about your opinion about pronouns and gender because I just had this conversation just a few days ago about the same thing. Oh, sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Zan. I am based in Vietnam. My pronoun are they, them, there, but you can call me she, her. That's totally okay with me. I am gender fluid and I'm so glad to be here today and get to know about other people's opinion about the same subject that I'm so passionate about.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for having me on this captivating podcast. My name is Mridul, and I'm thrilled to be here as we explore the evolving landscape of gender and delve into the idea that we might all be queer at heart. My pronouns are he slash him, and I'm so excited to embark on this exploration together, challenging the assumptions and uncovering the beauty in the diversity of human experiences. I feel like this topic is something that needs to be talked about more in our society so that we become more comfortable and do not misgender or call anybody by their dead name. So let's embark on this journey together.
All right, that's definitely a very interesting bunch of people to have conversation with today. Thank you so much guys for introducing yourselves. I think with the ever so evolving world, gender feels like a social construct that is binding the society blindly. Like imagine, when was the last time when we stopped, paused for a moment and thought that maybe we need to think about a certain thing in a different way? Same with the concept of gender. We never questioned things that were given to us by our elders or ancestors. But I think now I'm glad that in the last few years, the conventional notion of gender has developed progressively. There's an increased recognition of rights and better representation in mainstream media and entertainment. I think which for a longer time was so bad and messed up. So glad about that. Also, I think people are questioning and challenging traditional gender roles and expectations too.
Wow, Kuldeep, I agree with everything that you said. Now I would like to, proceed with medical advancements and social media. So basically, medical advancements have contributed to a shift in how we perceive gender. For instance, I'd love to share about a study that I read a few days ago, which speaks in volume about relation between brain structure and gender identity. So neuroscientific studies have suggested that gender identity may be linked to brain structure, emphasizing that gender is a multidimensional and complex aspect of human identity. Now, how cool is that? The emerging research in neuroscience suggested that there's a potential link between the brain structure and gender identity. This research indicates that the brain may play a pivotal role in determining an individual's sense of their own gender. Studies using techniques such as MRI scans have found that certain brain regions, particularly those related to body perception and self-awareness, show differences between trans and cisgender individuals. For instance, the brain structure of a trans individual may more closely resemble to that of their identified gender rather than their assigned sex. This suggests that there might be a biological basis for an individual's gender identity that is distinct from physical appearance or chromosomes. However, it is important to note that this area of research is still relatively new and evolving, and there's an ongoing debate and investigation into the precise relationship between brain structure and gender identity. The idea is not to reduce gender identity, but the basis or the idea of this is not to reduce gender identity to a single biological factor, but rather acknowledge that it is a complex interplay of genetics, hormones, brain structure, and social factors. So, understanding challenges the simplistic notion that gender is solely determined by physical characteristics. Now, apart from this, I would like to add that social media has played a significant role in promoting diversity and challenging traditional concepts of gender. It provides a platform for people to express themselves and share their unique identities, contributing to the perception that gender is fluid and evolving concept. Social media platforms have allowed individuals to openly discuss and explore the complexities of gender identity and breaking away from any traditional binary notion, or let's say something which is misogynistic or patriarchal. People now have the opportunity to share their experiences, stories, and perspective, fostering a sense of community and understanding, something that we're doing right now. A pop culture reference that exemplifies this shift that I would like to share with y'all is a song basically, and I'm pretty sure that we've all heard this at least once. It's called Montero, that is Call Me By Your Name, by Lil Nas X. Now, Lil Nas X is a young black gay artist. So you see, the artist itself comes from an intersectional background, and this music video featured the artist embracing various forms of self-expressions, including, taking charge of the hell and defeating the devil himself. Now, this particular form of expression included a lot of elements that challenge gender norms and the classic traditional way of storytelling. The song and the video sparked widespread conversations about diversity, gender expression, and self-acceptance, with social media playing a central role in amplifying these discussions. Additionally, I would like to mention about the platforms like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, which have given rise to influential LGBTQIA plus content creators who use their reach to discuss and celebrate diversity. This has helped to normalize and destigmatize conversations and has contributed to the idea that gender is indeed a multifold concept. Overall, I would just conclude this notion by saying that medical advancements, studies, social media has become a powerful tool for advocating diversity and inclusivity, influencing public perception and conversations surrounding gender. So that was my take.
I think, Annapurna, this is a solid point, and kudos to the facts that you've shared here. I agree with all of them. In fact, I think there's a very beautiful film called Call Me By Your Name that I guess, most of us would have watched. It was such a great film that depicted the nuances of being gay and, having feelings or having a relationship, trying to have a relationship. And that's very rare. You don't see those films every day. You don't see those kind of cinema. But I think thanks to social media, thanks to, platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and all such mediums where people are using their voices to talk about diversity and inclusivity. And we have some great influencers, not only in India, but I guess throughout the world, who are using their voices for issues that matter and doing it in such a great, sassy way. I think it's so cool. And I think we all are kind of getting up to that and getting inspired by it. But one thing, talking about gender, I think what we don't realize that we as a society have failed to understand what misgendering is. Now, misgendering is a concept that people have just never understood, and sadly, there's been no awareness about it. But thanks to, like I said, the influencers, and thanks to information that is so widespread everywhere these days, I think we are kind of getting aware about it. The fact that everybody needs to respect pronouns that people have, and the fact that we have all started using pronouns on our social media handles, even on Zoom meetings to say, even on signatures on emails, I think says a lot about how far we have come. But what exactly is misgendering, guys? I think we can like have a discussion, little discussion about that. Rahul, why don't you like share your opinion about, or maybe explain our audiences or listeners about what misgendering exactly is?
Rightly said, Kuldeep. I feel the media has played a crucial role in creating awareness through representing different identities in the mainstream that really helps another individual to understand and respect the existence of these identities which are beyond the patriarchal construct of the society, because patriarchy taught us that there are two genders only. There are two fit boxes where you have to find a way to fit in. But I think the representation of media has inculcated awareness, education, and the right way to respect the existence of people around you. And even today, there are a lot of people who have faced misgendering. Well, misgendering is a term used to describe a situation when a person or an individual is being addressed with a language or a pronoun that does not align with their gender identity. So, for example, if I use he or him to describe a woman or to talk about a woman, that would be considered as misgendering. And especially it is faced by non-binary and transgender community, as there is a concept of dead names. So for example, a person there transitions into a gender that they truly identify with, and earlier the gender and the name that was given to them to describe them is being used again and again to address them, even after their transition or even after they taking up a new name, is what misgendering is, especially in these circumstances. And it is quite offensive and traumatic, to be very honest. Imagine if I am somebody who does not want to be related to my previous identity because that was not who I was comfortable with or who I wanted to be. And now that I have accepted my real gender identity and I want to be addressed as my current gender identity, it is not being done. Imagine how traumatizing it would be for an individual to have not been acknowledged for who they are and who they feel. So I think and what they feel actually. And I feel that the gender neutral pronouns have really been a new concept for most of us, because it has not been spoken much about. It is now the representation of media that has given the awareness and the education to most of us to understand about gender neutral pronouns. Well, gender neutral pronouns are they, them, and there are others as well. It's just that anybody who does not align with the fit the fixed boxes or predefined boxes of two gender categories, male and female, can take up a gender neutral pronoun. And it is always suggested to use a gender neutral pronoun when you are not certain or when you're not sure about someone's pronoun, because it is also not right for you to assume somebody's pronoun or gender identity based on their appearance. And it would be really not right on your part to just assume their gender identity and use a pronoun that they really don't want to be related to. And it is always advised, I feel, that for an individual or a group of setting, whenever you are having a conversation with somebody new, it is always important for you to introduce yourself with your pronouns and also ask the other individual of their pronouns, so you are conscious about how you are addressing them. Because if you ask them of their pronouns. You're addressing them with the gender identity that they want to, that they feel that they align the most with. And I think it should be made a norm, especially in our society, and which will help a lot of people to feel confident, to feel acknowledged, and to feel seen in a society that that has been turning blind eye towards their existence from a long time ago. So I think now the change is happening, and definitely media has played an important role, along with other catalysts. But yeah, I think that's how it is taken up. And until recently, most queer discourse in India has taken place in English, and this could give an impression that there is no way to be gender neutral in Hindi. But I feel that gestures of respect are already built into Hindi. We address our elders with different grammatical forms than we do our peers. Hence, there is no obvious pronoun problem in Hindi. The third person pronoun wo refers to individuals of any gender. And outside of Hindi, I am most familiar with the languages of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. Bhojpuri, Maithili, and Angika avoid gender distinctions in the first person. For example, the Bhojpuri sentence Hum Jaiba, which states I will go, is gender neutral and could perhaps be modified and could be used as a gender neutral pronoun. And in Hindi, the usage of आप कहाँ जा रहे हैं, आप कहाँ जाएंगे, both of these translate to where are you going, where will you go. These are most gender neutral way of communicating with anybody, and I think that's how Hindi for me is kind of a gender neutral language. Definitely, there would be different opinions and perceptions on this, but I feel that we need to really trace down to our rich heritage and culture that earlier respected the existence of different identities and also inculcated the awareness and addressed them with respect. And yeah, I think that's my opinion.
Yeah, thank you, Rahul. It's actually very, very interesting. Actually, the differences that our country have with India, let me just give me 2 cents over from somebody who is also gender neutral and from other country, which is even though that my language is also very distinct with gender pronoun. For example, like you have your auntie, every single auntie in your family have this different pronoun for them that only address toward auntie. That's how distinct the gender pronoun here in Vietnam is. But when it comes to gender neutral, it's actually very harmonious about gender. Like we also have a religion that we have here, very traditional, which is the traditional of mother goddess, where we accept and recognize a person that can be a third gender. A perfect plan between women and men. They can present themselves as women or they can present themselves as men and always get respect for that because they're just not a part of the community. They also a representative of our traditional deity, which is in the traditional culture, the mother goddess culture. And it's so special because not just here in Vietnam, but several countries in Southeast Asia also have the same things, which is something I heard some friend of mine talk about that in the Philippines, in Indonesia, or even Hawaii, they also have something called third gender. I don't really remember the name anymore, but it's come to me as a thinking, maybe the concept of pronoun is not something that is new, like most people think it is. Because like in a lot of Western countries, you see that when it comes and talk about pronouns, you see like a younger person, they fight for it. They be like, I have all these pronouns and you have to respect that, right? But the concept of the person as non-binary or transgender is not something that is new, and the person that go beyond the concept of gender is not something that is new. It's in our history, and we have experienced and developed an understanding toward that idea. It's just that something that might have lost. And I find it's really special that now so many people fight and stand up for it, and the concept of gender is gender neutral are coming back and start to find footing again. It's really special to see that. It is so, and for me as someone who study about culture, is just I see that people start to see the pattern in our culture, in not just Vietnam, like in the world as well, and they see the pattern of it, and they realize that gender is not black and white. There is no pink and blue. It's a spectrum, and they just respect that and embrace it through how they dress and how they present themselves and how they treat others. It's become more appealing.
I think I agree with everything that you have said, Zan, and kudos to the fact that a lot of positive change has been happening, not only in India, not only in Vietnam, but everywhere in the world. And it was definitely very much required. And I guess it is possible because of the change in laws that has contributed greatly to more conversations on fluidity and diverse understanding of gender. I think there's also increased visibility and a strong sense of advocacy for gender fluidity. Also, adding to what Rahul mentioned earlier about the fact that trans people or non binary folks don't want to resonate or don't associate themselves with dead names that people often, or the public, general public that is unaware, end up calling them by or using for them. For example, now a lot of people might not know what a dead name is. So, dead name is basically a name that. Now, on this note, I'd like to ask a question to everybody here. Do y'all think that everyone is queer at heart? Like, this is something that I have observed, and this is not gaydar or anything like that. It's just an observation that I felt, and it comes from a very serious place. I just feel that for years we have suppressed our sexualities, we have suppressed our likings for the same sex. Like I've seen a couple of my friends who pretend to be straight, who pretend to be, heterosexual because it's the norm and you have to be. Otherwise, you may, invite a lot of negative attention in your life, and it may impact your, job, or it may impact your mental health or stuff like that. Or maybe the pressure that they get from their families, which also forms as a very prime or prominent reason for them to not, be able to come to terms with their sexualities. That's what I feel like at core, I think deep down, if we, think about it, I guess I just feel that everybody's queer. It's just the fact that they're just born in families, or they're just surrounded by people that just don't let them, kind of awaken their desires or themselves, or maybe a part of themselves that just never gets a chance to be alive. What do you guys think about it?
Well, Kuldeep, I'm glad that you asked this question, because I feel like this question needs to be pondered over. This issue is something that should be talked about. Well, I feel like the statement that we are all queer at heart is very subjective and philosophical notion. Okay, and it is completely dependent on how one interprets and defines the term queer. While, for example, some people might use it to mean that everyone has the capacity to be attracted to people of all genders, regardless of their own gender identity. While others might use it to mean that everyone has a capacity to break free from traditional gender norms and expectations that have been set up by the society. And there are few who might use it to mean that everyone has a capacity to be creative and express themselves in unconventional ways, something that is not considered normal, or should I say generic, by the society, right? Again, the concept of queer is very complex, and there's not one definitive answer to whether we are all queer or not. However, I feel like regardless of whether we are queer or not, people who are cishet, they should realize that they should be respecting them for their sexual identity, for being queer, right? That there should be no discrimination of any sort. We people from the LGBTQ community have already suffered enough. Well, if you look at the word queer, historically it was used as a derogatory term and it was used as a slur. However, in the recent years, it has been reclaimed by the people from the LGBTQ plus community as a term for empowerment and to show to the world that we are not afraid to show our true self, to show our true inner self. And there's nothing in like hiding your gender identity or your sexual orientation or XYZ or anything that the society does not considers to be generic or normal. Now the term queer in itself is like to describe anyone who does not conform to any traditional gender or sexual norms. In short, people do not like to be put into a box, which is something that the society has been doing ever since it the mankind, like ever since the mankind. Well, again, if I feel like if it like if I look like the word of like if I look at the meaning of the queer, and in this sense that wherein people, if the word queer is used to describe anyone who does not conform to traditional norms or sexual norms, in this sense it is very possible to argue and to agree that we are all queer at heart, as each and every human being is very different from the rest, right? We all have the potential to challenge and defy traditional expectations, these useless and baseless traditional norms that we're still following till date. And I again feel like we are all queer at heart if we feel like we all have the capacity to love and be loved, regardless of our gender or sexual orientation. We all have the ability to express ourselves in ways that are true to ourselves, even if those ways may not be considered normal, or should I call it generic, by the society. Ultimately, whether it's right or wrong, ultimately, whether it is right to say that we are all queer at heart is a matter of personal opinion, because I, for one, cannot force my opinion on anybody. For there is no scientific evidence to support or refute the claim. So I really can't say anything wherein I feel like I can say that we are all queer at heart, and ultimately it is up to each individual to decide what they believe in. And the statement, however, it is a very helpful way to challenge traditional ideas about gender and sexuality. It reminds us that there's no right way. There's no one right way to be a person, and we are all capable and have the right to express ourselves in our own unique and individual ways, something that is true to ourselves, something that is true to our inner self, right? Something that we need not hide it from the society. However, again, like looking at the term, like how queer is being used, it's very important that people use it in respectful tone and are respectful of the experiences of others, and especially of the people from the LGBTQ community. Of course, I also agree that often at times there are people that who might not identify themselves as queer. Not everyone would identify themselves as queer, and it is important that we need to respect that, because I have friends who are cishet, and although they do not call themselves, they do not recognize themselves, identify themselves as queer, but they're still very respectful towards the LGBTQ plus community. They do not discriminate. They understand that, like, even though like they question the norms, however, they're comfortable with their sexuality, and that's fine. That's completely fine, because that is their right. As long as you're being respectful towards a community, it's completely fine to associate or to not associate yourself with a certain term, right? And but again, I feel like we all have the potential to be queer, in the sense of being open to new experiences and challenging the status quo. Something that we question the society every day, that why are there certain things that a man can do and a woman cannot, or vice versa, right? Why are there certain things that only a specific gender is supposed to do? Why do we say like there are only two genders in the world? Something that defies the society. Something that defies society's saying or also thoughts every day. So ultimately, whether or not we are all queer at heart is a question that should be answered by each individual, and they must answer it for themselves. Nobody, you or me, or nobody has the right actually to comment on this if I can comment on somebody else's identity until and unless they are not sure of it, right? So, but I believe like the concept of queerness can be a very powerful tool for liberation and self-expression, and it can help us to embrace our differences and to live our life authentically.
Wow, that was so enriching. Like both the things that Mridul and Rahul said. I mean, the idea that everyone may possess certain aspects of queerness, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity, has been a subject of exploration and debate for over a decade now. Some argues that queerness goes beyond specific sexual orientation or gender identity and can be viewed as an inherent fluidity with human experience. However, I would like to point that it is important to recognize that individual experiences and identities vary greatly. While some individuals may resonate with this idea that all of us are queer at heart, others may firmly identify with conventional understandings of sexual orientation and gender, and we cannot just say that this is a wrong approach or a backward approach. Reason being the way we are nurtured, and the society is, although taking initiative to change things, to like bash on the patriarchal norms, but we still have to like take baby steps. We cannot just go on and claim that we're all queer at hearts. I mean, I personally feel that it's crucial to approach discussions about sexuality and identity with sensitivity and respect for diverse experiences. Like people have a wide range of feelings, thoughts, and self discoveries, and not everyone will relate to the concept of being queer at heart. So, I think ultimately the way individuals understand and express their identities is deeply personal and unique. So, that's my take on it.
Wow, I think the perspectives that I've heard in the last few minutes have been extremely enlightening. And I guess this will definitely help a lot of our listeners to kind of, shape an opinion or have an opinion that may be neutral or that may be fluid as well. But I think to conclude, gender is something that definitely that is not fading. I think it's becoming more intersectional. I think different societies, cultures, and individuals may have varying perspectives on this issue, like we discussed, I think. And I feel it's a tough nut to crack to be able to respectfully disagree with certain elements that think that gender is only male and female, and the boxes, the whole conversation about boxes that we had a little while ago. But I think ongoing conversations and research continue to shape our understanding of gender. It's an ever going conversation, it's an ever going discussion that will keep going on. We will keep on having conclusions about it. But the fact is that we can just all be ourselves and we can choose to celebrate fluidity in our own ways and yet be respected with it or about it, for it, and yet be respected for it. Well, this was an amazing discussion. Thank you so much, guys, for making it to the podcast. And to all the listeners out there, stay tuned for more such conversations and discussions.